Okay, today I'm going to discuss about the slave-like conditions for the agriculture communities that work in these areas that the so-called media is saying that these immigrants are stealing American jobs. First of all, I'm American, born, raised, and I will be damned if I go out into a field and pick fruits or vegetables. And that's not because it's beneath me, because it is hard work. As a young student, when I lived in Homestead, Homestead was still underdeveloped back in the early 80s, middle 80s, I would say. And they had a lot of tomato packing houses. And during the spring breaks, if you didn't have anywhere to go, or you weren't going on vacation with your families, which most of the time we didn't because I came from poor immigrant family, we went to work at the packing house for the spring break for that week or week and a half to earn a little money so we could have for the summer or come school. You have grand night, you have all these field trips that our parents couldn't pay for it. So I would work in the packing house, and my job was to sort out the bad tomatoes on the belt. And I noticed that I really didn't pay attention a lot to what was going on and who were working until I was actually there in front of, it was staring me in the face. And I was young, naive still to a lot of things, not educated enough to question what I was seeing. But I became friends with a lot of the pickers, which were Mexicans, and talked to them, and they were very gracious, very formal, very respectful, and we talked during our lunch times, and they told me their fathers and their grandfathers did this for a living. They came to the United States during farming season, and it depended on the season where they would go. In some of the winter time, they would go to California to pick grapes for the wine, wineries, and they would go into the Midwest to pick tomatoes or potatoes. Well, but you get the point where they would travel as the agriculture was being productive in the certain parts of the United States. And this was done on a regular basis by the Mexican community, which they would enter in here to the U.S. illegally. They would enter, they would work, and they would go back when the season was over or there was no more work for that era. And this was done generations upon generations. And they talked about how the mistreatment and the abuse of certain farmers or certain corporate farming industry that was in the U.S., and most of it was either they worked them and never paid them, or they would work them and underpay them, and then they would give them areas to sleep in which wasn't habitable even by animals. And they said that they could stay there. Some in the Midwest and up north, they have what is called a farming community, where the pickers, the workers would stay in the farm, and the farmer would have, or the farm would have a general store and their living domiciles on the actual farm where they worked, so they didn't have to go anywhere, so they weren't in danger of getting picked up by immigration, INS or anything like that. But the thing was that the money that they get paid or that they weren't being paid was used as credit. They never gave them money. What they would give them was a note of how much they earned, and then they would go to these convenience stores or the general store on the farm, and they would pay ridiculous prices for a loaf of bread, a bottle of water, a beer, something that they would want at that moment. But they were so scared to leave the farm to be picked up and lose the job that they didn't leave, and they were subjected to these prices. And then the farmer would even charge them for the areas that they stayed in, which, like I said, wasn't even habitable by animals. And then women were even scrutinized even more. You could only imagine, a woman illegal here, doesn't know the language, doesn't know the system, afraid of everything, and here comes this American, man that knows everything, and could use that to his advantage, and they did, and it's been in the news, but it's snuffed up really quick, so nobody hears about this. And we got to stop lying to ourselves. Nobody wants to work in a picking field of tomatoes or potatoes or onions. No American wants to do that. Not by choice, not by obligation, no one. The ones that do it are these poor immigrants that come here, and they're taken advantage of because it's low-paying job, hard work, long hours, and they're abused day in and day out, and they make this little amount of money, and then they pack up everything, and then they leave. Not yet have I seen anybody applying for a job to work at a packing house or out in that heat of the sun. So we got to stop this. It's nonsense. It is totally, absolutely nonsense that these immigrants are taking our jobs. It's BS. Now, the thing is that if it wouldn't be done by them, then they would have to use different sorts of equipment or some sort of labor to pick it up, and it would cost more. So in a way, it balances the sheets. Cheap labor, which this has always been the biggest problem or biggest issue throughout history, the labor cost to these corporations. Cheap labor's big income. That's how Chase Manhattan, Wells Fargo, the Rockefellers, all these people made their money off of slaves. And they're doing it again. It's happening again. And we as Americans are ignorant to the facts that these people are being abused by American suppliers of products, of produce, of fruits, vegetables, things that we use on our table, and we take it for granted every day. These fruits are picked by even kids sometimes that come with their parents. So we need to become more informed. These immigrants are being treated like slaves, and we're hypocrites when we look at other countries and say, "Oh, human rights," and they're abusing these people, they're enslaving these people, they're taking advantage of these people. But we do it also. We do it consciously, but we tend to ignore it because it's us. And hey, a dollar an hour is better than $1 a week. Yeah, but when we pay a person $1 and we take away $3, it's not better. We are enslaving them and giving them the false illusion that they're making money. And everybody wants to make a money. Everybody comes to this country to make a living. I don't see too many immigrants trying to rob a bank or anything like that. They come here, most of them come here to work and to send money back home to better their lives, just like we do every day. We go and we educate our children, we educate ourselves, we make resumes, we apply to different positions and different corporations to get that little increase in money to make our lives better. Because whoever the fool says that money doesn't make everything or isn't everything is a damn liar. Because in this state, in this society that we live in, money is everything. Money is freedom, because if you have money, you can buy a car, and these people can't do that because they can't even afford to live because the farmers are taking them. They're being abused, and we're turning a blind eye to it. So we need to look back at that and take care of the issue.